Hi there, Mar Haddad here again. So in this new video, I would like to show you how you can do the basic command line configuration on the Cisco router. So this video is really helpful for people who doesn't have any knowledge how to configure the Cisco router. So in this video, I will show you step by step how you can do the basic things on the Cisco router. As you can see, we have a lab of 7 points, but before I start doing those points, let's go to the lab scenario to show you what is our scenario, then I will come back to the points and start doing them. So this is my lab scenario. I have my computer, which is over here, connected to this Cisco router on the interface FastNet 1.0, and this router is connected to a router 2, also a Cisco router on the interface gigabit 0/0, that's the other side, gigabit 0/0. So what I'm going to do in this lab, first, I want to change the clock on this router. The clock is very important, especially when you want to check the logging. So you should have a clock on the router to be a right one. So I'm going to show you how you can see the clock on this router, and I'm going to show you how you can change the clock. But we are going to make it manually, so we are not going to use the NTP services. After I do that, I need to put on this router a password. We have different type of passwords that we have to put on the router. The first type is to put the password for the enable. So any time we want to go to the privilege, which is the higher privilege, which we call it the privilege mode, then we should put the password. That means not anyone who just log into the router, he can go to the privilege mode to do any changes on the router. We have to protect it using a password. I'm going to also put a password for telnet. So that means in case someone, for example, this PC is sitting, for example, this is in floor 5, this is on floor 2, they are connected via the Ethernet, then he can do telnet, for example, on the router to configure it. Then I need to put a password. So not anyone doing telnet on the router can gain access. And I'm going to put a password for the console. The console is nothing more than a cable that you plug it on the router, and you are close to the router, so you can also gain access to the router to the command line. So I'm going to do also password on that. After this, I'm going to put an IP on this interface to be the same as the IP on PC1. So PC1 has an IP of 10.10.10.2/24. So I'm going to put 10.10.10.1 over here, and I'm going to see if we have ping, so this computer can reach to this router, and then if we can do telnet to that route to see if the telnet is working. Also, I'm going to show you how you can also put IP on this interface. We do the same on the same range on this interface, and we see if those two routers can be able to ping each other. Then when I'm done, I'm going to save the configuration. So I'm going to show you how we can save the configuration that we have done to go from the RAM to go to the NVRAM. So on the Cisco router, you do have two memories. Actually, there are more, but there are two important memories, which are the RAM. That means anything you do on configuration on the router, it is applied on the router, but stays on the RAM. That means if the router has been rebooted, then you lose all the configuration. So for this reason, you need to copy the configuration which is on the RAM to go to the NVRAM. Then in case the router has been rebooted or the power has been switched off and then came back again on, then you don't lose your configuration. Your configuration will be always saved on the NVRAM, and it will be loaded to the RAM after the router is being rebooted. So those are the main things that I'm going to do in this lab. Let's go now back to the points and start. Point number 1, set the right clock on router 1. So I will go to router 1 now, and I will put the picture so you can see what I'm doing. So we have to set the right clock. If I do from this level, I say show clock. You can see that I have now the clock, which is October 29, 2022, but it is giving me the UTC time, which is correct. Actually, this is the right clock at this moment. But what I want to do is just, let's show you how you can change the clock. So all you need to do, you have to say clock, question mark. So very important that you always use the question mark after the comment, because when you use the question mark after the comment, then you can see what is the next comment that you have to write. There is also another way to do the question mark. It's when you are writing the comment. Say that you don't know if you have to write clock CLOCK or CLOK, for example. You don't know. So you just write CLO, and then there, without the space, you just do question mark. Then it will show you the comment directly. Then all you need to do now is to write it, or you can just press on the tab button. So when you say tab, then it will take directly the comment. Very good. So we have seen we have clock, and we have to say set question mark, and now it says, okay, set the time. So the hours, the minute, and the second. So it's saying to me what is the format that I need to use. So now the time it's 16. I'm using now the Europe time, the CET time, Central Europe time. So 16, 22, 00, question mark. So now they say, okay, what is the day and the month of the year? So today we are 29. The month, it is October. I can do the question mark to see. So actually we have to write it all. Yeah, 29 October. And which year is it? So we are 2022. Question mark, and that's it. So that's all what I have to do over here. And what you see, CR, like you see now, CR. So in this case, then the comment is finished. And then I'll make enter. Now if I say again, you see this, you got that the clock has been adjusted. So if we say show clock, so this is the new time. But again, it is taking the UTC time. So that means normally it should be 14. So let's correct it because this is on UTC time. So let's put it 14. And now it is 23. So UTC and CET, there is 2 hours difference. So now we say show clock. Yes, here it is. So this is the right time. Very good. So this is how you can change the clock. Of course, there is another way to change dynamically the clock on the router, because if you have in a company like 100 routers, you cannot change the clock for all the 100 routers manually like that. So you can make one router to be an NTP server, and this NTP server you can connect it to an NTP on the internet, or you can connect all the computers to one NTP server on the internet, which you can have it for free, and then the clock will be synchronized with this NTP server and they will get the right timing. Point number 1 is done. Point number 2, put a password on the console, on the telnet, on the privilege. So what is console, what is telnet, and what is privilege? If I go to the browser, and let me just show you, if we go to Google and we search for example, Cisco console. So let's go to here and then we write Cisco console port. So this is the console cable that comes. So it is DB9 from one side, so it's like serial, and then it's RJ45 from this side. So the console port on the Cisco router, if we go over here, so if you look to the back end of the router, so for example this is the back end of the router. Let's make it bigger. So let's see it from here. So you can see we have the console port, it's over here, it's RJ45, and from the other side you need the cache. So you put this inside here, and this one goes to your computer, and then you can open a terminal to connect to the router, to the console to make the configuration. There is also some routers that have auxiliary port that is very old. Normally we never use it. So you will end up having something like this one. So this is the computer. Let's open it. So this is the computer. It's connected serial to the console port, and then you can do the configuration on the router. So anyone has a computer and he's next to my router, you put console, he can start making the configuration if we don't put a password. And that's something I don't want to happen. So what we need to do now, we go to router 1, and over here we go to the configure terminal. I will say over here line console. And question mark, we do have only one port, so the console is 0. That means we only have one port of console on the router. And over here we have to put the password. So you can put this password to be strong. In my case, I just use it simple one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you have to say login. So once you do that, anyone now who is trying to connect to your router via console, he needs to put the password. Of course, your password should be strong, as I said, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so they can guess it very fast. But normally we put a strong password, and once we put a strong password, then they will never be able to get access to the router on the console. So this is what they ask here. Now, they said for the telnet and password and for the privilege mode. So, we have to also put the password on the telnet. Telnet means you can connect remotely. Let's say if you are sitting at home and the router is in the office, you want to do some configuration on the router, you can connect to it remotely. So yeah, with the telnet, if you don't put also password, then anyone can possibly connect to the router. So we have to put a password on the telnet. How to do that? We can say line VTY, and then here are the lines that we have from 0 to 15. So that means we do have 16 lines. That means 16 engineers can connect on the telnet to the router at the same time. So from 0 to 15, that's 16. And then I have to say password. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will use the same password and log in. So now I protected my telnet. And the last thing that they said is to put the password on the to go from the user mode to the privilege mode. So that means that if you log into the router, you could log into the router, and you don't know the password of the privilege mode, then you stay on the user mode. That means you have to think of user mode and privilege mode is like Windows. You have the user and you have the administrator. The user cannot install softwares, cannot delete softwares, cannot do anything, can only see what you provide them as administrator. But administrator on the Windows machine, he can do everything. All right. So that's why we have to be careful that we put the password on the privilege mode on Cisco's, so only administrators who has the password can get full access to the router. How to do that? We have to use the command enable, and now we can use either secret or password. If we use password, then it is shown as clear text on the show run. When we say secret, it's not shown. I'm going to show it to you in a moment. So let's say secret 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is the password on the privilege mode. And then I'll say enter. Look, if I do now say show run, you can see that look at enable secret and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now it has been encrypted. So it's not the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that we have written here. That's why, because in case you are doing the configuration on the router, someone sitting behind your back and looking to your router, and if you say show run to see your configuration, and if it was not secret, it was just password, then he could see the password to the privilege mode, then he put it in his mind, then next time he can log into the router and gain full access to the router. All right, so that's all what we need to do. Point number 2 is done. Point number 3, put an IP address on the fast Ethernet 1/0 of 10.10.10.2 and check if the PC can ping it. All right, so what we are going to do now, I'm going to try to do the telnet. But to do the telnet, I need from this PC to make telnet to an IP over here. So this interface, I should put an IP on it. On this computer, I have an IP, as I said, 10.10.10.2/24. Over here, this fast Ethernet 1/0 interface should have same range. So I'm going to do 10.10.10.1/24. And then I can see if I can ping it, then I will try to do telnet to the router to see if the telnet is working. So let's go to the router. Now, if I say show IP interface brief, we can see that I'm connected to this one, fast Ethernet 1/0. At this time, it is down. The interface is down, doesn't have any IP address. Let's put an IP address on it. So this is to show you how you can put IP address on the interface. Configure terminal, interface, fast Ethernet 1/0, IP address 10.10.10.1, 255.255.255.0, so that's /24. And very important, you have to say no shutdown, because at this time the interface is down. So when you say no shutdown, then you bring the interface up. So that's all what you need to do. You can see that the interface went up. And if I repeat now the command show IP interface brief, we can see that indeed this interface has the IP and the status is up and protocol is up. That means layer 1 and layer 2, they are up and up. Very good. Now let's go to the computer. I will open here the command prompt. And if I try to ping to 10.10.10.1, we should be able to ping it. Let's have a look. Here we go. So the first one is request timed out because normally there is an ARP happening, and now we can ping it. So I can ping it, that means my computer can reach it. Let's see if I can do now telnet. So I will open the software, which is PuTTY, there is a very small software, you can get it for free on the internet. And over here, I will put the IP 10.10.10.1, and it's gonna be telnet on port 23. Look, directly it asks you for the password. Which password here is asking? It's asking for the password for the telnet. All right, I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you can see this one, you have the greater sign, so that's user mode. So here we can do very small things. We can't do too much of things. So if I say, for example, show question mark, then you can see those are the things that I can do. Not much of things actually that you cannot do configuration on the router and stuff like that. So now if I want to go, let's make it big so you can see it better. So this is the telnet now. Huh? If I want to go from the user mode, I want to go to the privilege mode. I have to say enable. It will ask you for the password. You see, this password is the password of secret that we have put it. So that means to take you to the privilege mode. And I have to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The passwords, of course, I put the same password for everything, for telnet, for the privilege mode, for console, I put the same password. But normally you shouldn't do that. You should put for every one a totally different password and to be a strong one. But look now, I'm inside the privilege mode. So now I can do anything on the router. If I make exit, I go out of the telnet. So we have seen that the telnet is working, and the privilege mode that we have put a secret password on it is also working. So point number 3 is done. Point number 4, do telnet from PC to R1. Is it working? We have tried, and yes, it is working. Now the point number 5 is to put an IP on the gigabit 0/0 of 192.168.12.1 and 192.168.12.2 on gigabit 0/0 of router 2, and then we have to do a ping. So what does it mean here? If I go to this picture, we can see that we do have here two interfaces. This is on router 1, this is on router 2. So what I want to do, I want that this router 1 and router 2 see each other, so we have to put an IP from the same range. So I put here 192.168.12.1, so here .1, here .2, and then I will try to ping from one router to another to see how and if it's working. So I'm going also to use the description so you can see also, because in the future, in case you have on the router many interfaces connected to many different devices, then you know that this interface is connected to that device. So this is the description that you can use. So let's go to router 1 and start. So again, you can see that gigabit 0/0, it's down at this moment. So let's start the configuration. Configure terminal, interface gigabit 0/0, and I put an IP address on it. They said to be 192.168.12.1, 255.255.255.0. I will put a description, just a description, and then here I can say, I would like to make it on capital letters so it's more clear for me to read. So this interface is connected to gigabit 0/0 of router 2, for example. All right, so this is the description is taken, and don't forget to say no shutdown. Very good, so this is done, and now we go to router 2. And if I say show IP interface brief, gigabit 0/0 is down at this moment. So let's start. Interface gigabit 0/0, IP address 192.168.12.2, 255.255.255.0, description, and then this interface is connected to gigabit 0/0 of router 1. Very good. And now we have to say no shutdown. Excellent. So now if I say, let's have a look. So if I say show, let's see, show IP interface brief. What should we get? So we can see first that this interface is up. So if I say now show IP interface gigabit 0/0, and we can see also the information here. So that is, it's saying line up and protocol is up. So this is the IP address. So you can see those information showing up for you. Now, if I say, for example, show run, and we go down, here we can see this description showing for me that this interface is connected to router 2. Very good. So now if I do the ping to 192.168.12.2, we should see if they can see each other. Here we go. Then this can ping to that one. I'm just thinking what we can do. Maybe it's smart to go to router 2, as we have already configured telnet, and let's do telnet to 192.168.12.1. So I'm going to do telnet from router 2 to router 1 to see if it's gonna work. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm inside router 1. Enable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm on the privilege mode of router 1. You see how telnet is easy. Even from the same router, you can do also telnet. So let's go back to router 2. Point number 5 is done. Point number 6, check the configuration that you have done on router 1 and router 2. So, as I said to you in the beginning of the explanation, that the MikroTik has two important RAMs or memories. One is called RAM and one is called NVRAM. So all what we have done now as configuration on this router, it's saved on the RAM. But the RAM's problem is that it saves the configuration temporarily until the router is being rebooted. Once the router is being rebooted, then the configuration is gone. So as long as the router is up and running, then the configuration is efficient, it's working. But once something happened to the router and it's rebooted, you will lose the configuration. For this reason, you should save your configuration in a place where, in case the router has been rebooted, then it will receive the same configuration that you have done. So first, let's speak about the RAM. So if I say show running config, this is what you see here is the RAM. You can see I have made the enable password. I have put the configuration on the gigabit interface 0/0 on the fast Ethernet 1/0. So all the configurations that I have done to now for the console, I put the password. For the line VTY, I put the password. For the enable, I have seen already we have put the password. So all what I have done is on the RAM. But if I say show startup config, so on the show startup config, we can see now that the console doesn't have a password. We can see that we don't have a line VTY. We saved. So we don't have any IP on the interface. Nothing. So the show startup is the NVRAM. Show running config is the RAM. Again, show startup is the NVRAM. Is where the configuration should be saved normally. And once the router is being reloaded, it will send all the configuration to the RAM of the router. So at this time, the startup is empty. So if I now reboot my router, I will lose the whole configuration. So what I need to do, I have to copy what I have on the RAM, I have to copy it to the NVRAM. So what's going to happen if I reboot the router? The router will see what configuration it has on the NVRAM, and it will load this configuration to the RAM, and then the router will have the same configuration. You got the idea? So very important, after you finish your work, you just have to say copy running configuration to startup configuration. Enter. So this is the destination file name, yes, enter. And now that's it. Now if I say again show startup config, we can see that here we go, the enable secret is now there. The IPs on the interfaces are there, the line VTY and the console, everything is there. So now if I reboot router 1, no problem, router 1 has the configuration on the startup config, it's always there, and it will load it inside the RAM. Let's do the same over here. So instead of saying copy running configuration to startup configuration, you can say copy run start. Just copy run start, that's also possible. If you say enter, you see it's possible. The other thing you can say is write memory. Write memory is possible. Or you can just say WR. Also, that's possible. So you can see all those means copy running configuration, startup configuration. Point number 6 is done, and point number 7, save the configuration on router 1 and router 2 and see if this is saved. I have already done that, and this is done. So this is all what I wanted to show you in this video. I know a lot of information in one video, but this is really a simple video to show you how you can have the basic configuration on the command line on Cisco router. If you like my way of teaching, please do not forget to put like on this video, subscribe, and click on the bell so you are notified by my new videos. Thank you very much for the time you spent watching my video, and see you next time.